Hey, what's going on, traders? It's Johnny here, Trader X. Thank you guys so much for tuning back into the channel. I really appreciate each and every single one of you that tune in to view our videos every single day. But I wanted to go ahead and get started and let you guys know how my trading went. And so as you guys can see from the screen, today was the first green day I had of the week, right? So based off my day trading, I made $75.39 off the inverse ETF of the NASDAQ, ticker symbol SQQQ, and I made $8.85 on TQQQ, right? And then I was down $33 on my open position on Tesla. And so let me go ahead and get right into the breakdown. But first, these are my field orders. You guys can see the timestamps that I was trading, the quantity I was trading with, the ETF right here, and the prices are over here on the right, right? But let me go ahead and get right into the breakdown. So pretty much today what I wanted to talk about was, what led to me, I think ultimately doing good on the day and being able to profit and end green and what I could do better, right? You always want to ask yourself what you could do better. And so today, obviously, as you guys know, I've been having a big red streak this week and I've been getting burned trying to predict reversals a lot, right? So I came into today telling myself I'm going to really just try my best to go with the flow and once the flow dies out and direction changes, then go ahead and change ETF that I'm trading. And so right here on market open, what ended up happening, right, as if you guys saw the previous videos that I posted earlier this week, what you guys would notice is at market open there would be some type of fake out, right, where it would shoot up one direction and then completely change direction. And so anticipating that, right, because it's been like that all week, as market open, this thing shot up, right? It shot up, and rather than try getting into TQs and riding the momentum up, I knew, okay, wait, let me take a sec to give it, to let it establish its true direction on the day, and it's because there tends to be a fake out. Just be patient, and you could probably get into the inverse ETF, right? So that's exactly what happened. As this thing pushed up, right, it continued to pick up right at market open, right? You guys see the increase in volume, and then it completely changed direction. So it actually got rejected and started to fall. I bought into the inverse ETF, and then as this thing continued to sell off, I averaged up. I cut my trade majority shares around here, right? Because there has been a previous support right around these levels. And as it continued to sell off, I ended up cutting the rest of my trade. Now, ultimately, what I liked that I did was instead of just hoping this thing was going to actually reverse like it has all week, I waited for this thing to actually indicate signs that it was getting rejected before I got into the inverse ETF. So that's one thing that I really liked about, my performance today. What I think I could do better is I know that at market open there tends to be a huge play, right? Probably like 2 to 3% play minimum on the inverse ETF. And so given that, as this thing started to go in my way, I was conservative in locking in majority profits, right? Right over here, but I did know there was a chance that this thing could actually sell off tremendously because we've been seeing very big moves right at market open. So like heading into tomorrow, pretty much what I'm gonna do is if it starts to go my way and I'm in heavily, I'm gonna let it run more, right? So this thing was aggressively getting rejected by the EMA. And so what that's telling me is this thing's still aggressively selling up. Direction still hasn't changed. So why, was I cutting my trade already? Like it pretty much could have continued to sell off and I could have continued to ride it off. And maybe once it broke EMA, like above here, I could have cut my shares. I think that ultimately could have been a smarter move and made me a lot more money, right? This alone on this push that I missed could have probably made me like $200-300 is my guess, and that's a decent amount. And then as this thing started to reverse, as this thing broke above the EMA, I got into the inverse ETF one more time, right? But it didn't make a lower low than it did before. So what that was telling me is it actually used the EMA to, form this higher high. And so what that really told me was, okay, maybe it's not, or maybe it's going to start changing direction right now, right? So that's ultimately what I ended up doing. I changed my focus to TQQQ. So as this thing would peak out and then sell off, approach the EMA, I would get into TQQQ. And then as this thing picked up, I would sell at, previous highs, or I would let it run a little bit. So that's ultimately what I liked that I did today. But in terms of what I struggled and what I could do better, I would say it's really being okay with holding a trade longer if there's no indication that it's reversing yet. So what I mean by that is, for example, as this thing would pull back, I would get in, right, the TQQQ, And then as it would sell off, it would consolidate a bit and make me iffy, right, of being in the trade. But ultimately, as it would start to pick up, I would decide to like cut my trade already because I was just so over the trade already and the fact that it took this long to reverse, right? So instead, what I should have done is as this thing pick is starting to pick up, right? It's making these higher highs, these higher lows. So chances are it could break this resistance and, push a bit. And that's ultimately what happened. So I missed out. I remember earlier on the day on this play here as it picked up, and then I did it once more. I think maybe around this area. I'm not too sure, but that ultimately goes to show that, don't be afraid to let a trade play out actually. And obviously like be conservative with it in the sense that don't just be hopeful that this thing's gonna go up forever, but at the same time you gotta be willing to let your trade run a bit more, right? So that's definitely something I need to work on and practice in my trading, and that's something I'm gonna be practicing with tomorrow, right? So really letting my trades run when direction's in my favor, cutting it when it's smart, right? When direction changes. So as this thing was continuously getting rejected by the EMA, it broke above it, right? And then started to actually ride it up. And so I could have done a better job of capitalizing on TQQQ. And then guess what? As it starts to approach and become more overextended towards the top VWAP, this thing ended up breaking below the EMA, falling, right? And then as it approached these previous resistance levels again, it changed direction. So it would started to make these lower highs, lower lows get rejected by the EMA. And so I could have made money on that as well, right? So the market, although it was a little choppy today too, trading sideways, it was definitely a lot more predictable than yesterday. Yesterday there were so many fake outs, there were so many reversals, it would change direction very quick. But today it was more manageable, right? Like in the sense that direction was clear on which way it was headed. And so that's ultimately what I like to see because you could take advantage of those types of situations. But yep, that's everything I wanted to, cover today as far as my Tesla position. As you guys know, the Nasdaq still has not been indicating signs of an uptrend, right? On the bigger time frame, actually, these past few days, especially with the sell-off we've been having, as you guys will notice, this thing is aggressively indicating signs of a downtrend, right? It's right making these lower highs, lower lows, all against the EMA line. When it finally broke above it, it even made it form the lower low, right, than previously. And as this thing picked up, right, it's not like it was a crazy surprise that it broke below EMA and is selling off. It just did it, literally, right? It would break above EMA, consolidate, break below it. Break above EMA, consolidate, break below it. Now, does this mean it has to continue to sell off and make lower lows? No. But at the same time, don't try to predict reversals, right? So what I mean by that is this thing is still obviously selling off, right? So if I were to buy more Tesla now, Tesla is very influenced, or it's very heavily influenced by the Nasdaq. So with the Nasdaq selling off, Tesla's selling off too. So why would I throw my money in something hoping it's going to reverse? I don't know when the bottom of this is going to be, right? So it's my job as to put myself in a good position and really wait for a true confirmation. So what do I mean by that? Well, if this thing were to make a higher low, so no longer break this previous support and continue to sell off, right? But it instead wants to start forming these higher highs, right? Like we've seen, like, right around this area where it rides the EMA line up rather than down. Then that's going to be, when I'm going to reassess and be like, okay, maybe it will make more sense now to add into Tesla. But until then, I'm not going to touch it, right? So, yeah, I'm just trying to keep it simple. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I will be posting another recap tomorrow, so I hope you guys tune in for that. And I hope all of you really ended green today, right? And are having a good week and are enjoying your day today. And yeah, if you guys are new to the channel, we really, really appreciate you guys dropping a like on the video and subscribing if you haven't already, because we are new and we are trying to, grow and build a community of traders where we really encourage each other to, you know, um, it's okay to have red days as long as you learn from them, and there's always something to learn from a red day. But yep, that's everything I wanted to cover with you guys today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Take care and have a good rest of your day.